crack.
That was a good one.
Dang. Yes, sir.
I'm Melvin Jackson, and you're watching 50 Shades of Dashiki. Dr. Fred Rubel was the first African-American chiropractor in the world. In 1913, he graduated from the National College Chiropractic near Chicago, Illinois. In 1914, the Rubel College of Chiropractic was a game changer simply because it was the first school for chiropractic practice that did not discriminate on enrollment based on your ethnic background. He believed people of all races, if they will be successful in coexisting, must incorporate in every profession. According to the American Chiropractic Association, there are over 70,000 chiropractors in the United States of America, with only 2.3% being African American. Had it not been for Dr. Fred Rubel, the chiropractic profession would not be where it is today.
Welcome everybody to another episode of 50 Shades of Dashiki. I'm your host, Melvin Jackson. Today I have the honor of receiving my first adjustment from a well-versed, passionate chiropractor here at Kingdom Chiropractic located in Lewisville, Texas. And without further ado, I want to introduce you all, none other than the man, the legend himself, Dr. Brown.
Yeah, man, thank you, man. I appreciate it. Honestly, it's more of an honor for me to be able to help you out and be able to get that first adjustment. I think that a lot of times we see that people are hesitant to step into a chiropractic office just based off the fact that they don't know what to expect. You know, it's the fear of the unknown. But one thing that I'll say is that when we see that people actually take that step of faith, normally the outcome is transformative, right?
Well, thank you. As I said before, I was able to look him up on social media. I saw the videos. At the time, he was running a special that I had taken advantage of. I will not say the price because the specials are specials. So we'll just keep it at that. Prices are always subject to change based on what's going on. So I'm not going to quote what I had paid. Anyway, how and why did chiropractor become your practice?
Yeah, that's a solid question. I would say in looking at it, I always knew that I wanted to be a doctor of some sort, right? It's just a matter of trying to figure it out. When I was younger and not really knowing where I fit in, I think is the best way to put it, I thought that pharmacy was the way to go. I was gonna be a pharmacist. You know, I grew up with my mom working in a lot of medical offices, and she always spoke about how these pharmacy reps, you know, drove nice cars and had nice clothes and made good money. And my thought was, well, if the pharmacy rep makes that much money, then what does the pharmacist do, right? So it was more of just like chasing money is really what it was. Unfortunately, what ended up happening is I saw my mom going through some struggles in our traditional healthcare system. Essentially, she was doing the right things, right? She's doing what they're asking her to do. She's taking the medication they're asking her to take, but yet she kept getting worse, okay? So what that did is it kind of sent me on this journey to say, you know, if I want to be able to impact people, how can I impact someone in the similar situation as my mom, right? If I can just help one person to get better, then I would call myself a success. Okay. And so it started me on this journey of really looking at different specialties of what could happen. And I ended up having a friend who actually had a roommate who had just graduated chiropractic school right around the same time my mom was having some big struggles. Him and I had a conversation, and chiropractic just really made a lot of sense to me. It really did. And so when you talk about being able to work with the body in order to increase function, what we know is that if you have an increase in function, you're just going to feel better. Or you're just going to work better, right? Things are going to work and operate at a level that we want. And so that's really what brought me into it, is a conversation with him and just knowing in my heart that I want to be able to serve people in some capacity as a doctor. And so that's how I got into chiropractic. It literally is the exact opposite of what I do now. You know, as a pharmacist, yes, you go to school for the 8 years, but outside of that, you're prescribing medications. And I say prescribe, it's not even that. I mean, really what you're doing is you're the one that's actually giving the medications out, right? The doctor prescribes a medication, you actually give that to the patient. There's some patient interaction for sure, but that's what I thought I wanted to do. I thought I wanted to be in a pharmacy counting pills and distributing pills to people. And the more that I dug into the way the body works, the more that I dug into how you actually can get people better, the more I realized that, whenever we are hurting, it's not a lack of ibuprofen in the system that causes that pain. You see what I'm saying? So what I knew is that, well, if there's a way that we can get people better without giving them more medications, without giving them surgery, without sending them to injections, then I wanted to be a part of that.
Okay. What are some of the myths that you've heard in your field of practice, why people would be hesitant of coming to treat a chiropractor?
Yeah, I think I would say the biggest thing is just fear of the unknown, without a doubt. It's just people don't know what they don't know. I say that in a very respectful way. I really do, because there are even providers out there who don't know what we do. I have people that come to me who have gone to MDs, who have gone to orthos, neurologists, and they say, well, what does a chiropractor do? A lot of those guys guys and gals, they can't really tell you what chiropractors do outside of cracking and popping, right? Which is a very, very surface level, understanding of what it is that we do. And so I would say fear of the unknown is a big one. The next one would be that it hurts, right? If you get an adjustment, it's going to cause pain. You just had an adjustment. You tell me, did it cause pain when you had the adjustment? Not at all, right? So the pain thing is just a thought. People think they're going to have pain. The only time that we see someone that'll have pain in an adjustment is when they showed up in a lot of pain already, right? Then maybe that person just experiences pain because they were already in pain, but it's not going to bring pain. So that's probably the second one. And then the third one is there's this myth of the adjustment causing strokes and things like that. They've done enough studies on that to truly just rule that out. I mean, you're just as likely to have a stroke driving through the McDonald's drive-through. You're just as likely to have a stroke, getting your hair washed at the hairdresser when you lay your head back into the sink. There's no real, they can't really find that there's a link between what we do and strokes. There just really isn't. Gotcha. What we see is that the people who have had those type of issues, unfortunately, had underlying issues that were there from before. Right. And so now they're actually stopping that narrative that like, oh, this can possibly cause a stroke. It just doesn't happen. It's not real. It's not truth. And it's funny because I've been doing this 10 years and I've never seen anything.
Okay. Now that we got some of the myths busted today, can you share with the audience what are some of the benefits that people may not know could be treated if they come see you versus any other type of doctor?
For sure. Yeah. I would say the big one that stands out to most people is pain, right? Whether that's neck pain, mid back pain, low back pain, headache, sciatica, knee pain, elbows, wrists. I mean, you name it. If you're talking pain, chiropractors can do a fantastic job with that. Wow. There isn't another, and I'm okay saying this because it's true. There isn't another provider out there that studies the body as much as a chiropractor does musculoskeletal, right? I mean, from head to toe. You can get specialties where somebody maybe they do a lot in the brain like a neurologist, but if you look at the body from head to toe, there ain't another specialist that knows as much about the body as a chiropractor does, right? So pain is a big one. The migraines is huge. A lot of people have migraines. Like I said, I mentioned the headaches. Another thing is that when you look at the body, really as a chiropractor, what we do is we increase function. What that means is that we allow the brain to communicate with the body at a level that allows you to be able to move and work and do all the things that you do with minimal pain. And so when you start to look at like the impact, man, we can impact digestion, we can impact, anxiety, we can impact things like depression, we can impact things like, I had a young lady who was in here, probably a few weeks ago, and when she started with me, she came to me for back pain. She started with back pain, she came in, she started to feel better, which is great. About 3 weeks in, she goes, Dr. Brown, I got to tell you something. I was too embarrassed to tell you this when I first came in, but when I started to see you, I had a lot of incontinence, meaning she was going to the bathroom on herself. Okay. She wasn't able to control her bladder. She said I stopped going out because I'd go out and I would unfortunately urinate on myself because I couldn't control it. Wow. And she said, since I started coming to you, I haven't had that happen again.
Oh, wow.
Right. So when you look at the impact of what a chiropractor can do, it really is endless. I mean, the ability to be able to free up the body so the body can communicate and work as it needs to is everything. I mean, when God made us, right, he made us in a body that is self-healing and self-governing. And when you allow the body to do what it does, all of a sudden the impact is through the roof. Right? Now you're able to do what you need to do with less pain. Now you're able to do what you need to do with less medication, right? Not having to have the surgeries or whatever that might be.
That makes sense. Okay.
If you remember Christopher Reeve, what happened is he was on a horse and unfortunately he was thrown off. When he got thrown off the horse, what he did, like literally, if you take your finger and you put it right behind the ear and right on the neck, he actually broke the very top bone in the spine. Now, the way our body works is the brain communicates down through the spinal cord, and then all the spinal nerves are what can allow us to move, to work, to jump, to talk. Everything. It allows everything. So what happened whenever he broke that top bone is he put pressure into what's called the brainstem, which is at the top of the spinal cord, and it essentially stopped all communication from the neck down. What that means is that for him afterwards, unfortunately, he had no use of his arms, right? He had no use of his legs. In the area where he actually hit on the brainstem, that controls respiration. It controls digestion. It controls really all of your autonomics, which autonomics just means all the things that happen in your body that you don't have to think about was affected. So as an example for him, he was on something that helped him breathe every single day. He had people that pushed on his stomach so he can go to the bathroom every single day, right? I mean, the man was shut down because of one thing that happened in the top of his neck. Right, that's how important it is. So when you look at it, like, and I always say this to people, is that in this office we're very neck heavy. We're neck heavy, meaning we take the neck very serious because what it encompasses runs our life. It truly runs our life. And so the last thing we want is stress or irritation within that area, because they've even done studies on it. If you put too much tension on the spinal cord, it'll take anywhere from 8 to 12 years off your life, right? So it's important. It's important. And so we want to be able to let people understand that and help people to walk through in order to be able to have a healthier spine, in order to be able to function better, right? And we do a really good job of that.
Okay. So it seems like to me that this practice is safe enough for anyone to get an adjustment. Are there any age restrictions or conditions? Let's say if one was pregnant, is there such thing as too soon or?
Sure. No. So yeah, that's a great question. No, I mean, I've adjusted anyone from newborns that are hours old. I mean, literally, we've had patients call me to get me to the hospital in order to be able to adjust babies. A lot of people say, man, why would you do that? Well, if you think about it, if you've ever seen a delivery, if you have a child and it was a vaginal delivery, or even if it was a C-section, there are times where the doctor has to pull and they have to tug and they have to do all these things. That it can be very, very stressful to a child. And now all of a sudden the baby has colic. Now all of a sudden they have digestive issues, right? I mean, the last thing I ever want to see is a child or really a baby that comes in here on medication. And I've had babies that come in on medication for digestive issues and they're 6 weeks old, right? That's unacceptable. So the last thing we want is that, but there are things that we can do in order to allow that digestion to work at a level to where we don't have to do the medication anymore, right? So I've had them all the way from like literally newborns, hours old, all the way to, I think my oldest patient was either 94 or 96. Oh, okay. So there's really not a regulation on it. As far as like pregnant women, I love seeing pregnant women. There's so much that we can do to help out with that as far as what we do in the pelvis, what we do in the low back. It's interesting because I would say 90+% of pregnant women that show up all show up the exact same, right? They're growing, they're putting more stress and pressure on the hips, on the low back, so those are the areas that we have to be able to affect, but also in going through and actually getting treated, we can actually increase the delivery time, right? So we actually can cut the time on that to make that happen faster. So, there's a lot of benefits in doing that. As far as different conditions, we've really treated a little bit of everything. There hadn't been anything that's really walked in that said, hey man, we really can't treat. But with that being said, we do a very thorough evaluation so that we know that we can do, whether we need to take x-rays or even sometimes we have to send people for MRIs, whatever it is. We're going to do everything that we need to do to make sure that people can get treated the right way. And what I would say is probably 98% of people are totally fine getting treated.
Absolutely amazing to hear. Like, that's something that I just learned new today, that you can actually help reduce the amount of time of labor to delivery of the child. Right. Okay, that's incredible. So to let the people know where exactly, how can they get booked? Yeah. I want to personally say thank you because the entire process was absolutely painless. From the time that I inquired about scheduling an appointment to receiving the text messages, the follow-up emails to confirm, even down to the questionnaire, you were very helpful. You responded in a very rapid, timely manner. I can't say that any question that I asked of him went unanswered beyond 12 hours. Now, I'm not saying that he's staying awake 24 hours to answer the questions, But for a doctor to get to you less than 24 hours, that speaks volumes about the passion behind this man's work. So if you want to know like your social media platform.
Yeah, absolutely. So on Facebook, you can go Kingdom Chiropractic, and we're in Lewisville. On Instagram, you can find me. It's at DocBrown_DC. We're always posting content and we're always on there ready to talk. This is how I can actually respond to you so fast, is because I'm always on there anyway. But if you want to look at either of those, like I said, Facebook or Instagram, both of them are there as far as where we're located. We're located right here in Lewisville, right next to Old Town. Address for us, it's 363 West Main Street. It's in Lewisville, Texas, and the zip code is 75057. If you want to just call us, it's easy to do that. Number is 972-261-9897. Really, we answer all the mediums, whether you text us, whether you call us, we're here. Because really what we want to do is we just want to be able to help as many people as we can, and take people from where they are to where they really want to be, I guess is the best way to put it.
All right, well, thanks for your time, Dr. Brown. As I've seen today, as quick as they come in, they're coming out. So if anything, could you leave any words of encouragement or any inspirational quotes that you think will help someone out there that may be interested in taking your line of work, or any dreams that they care to pursue?
Yeah, for sure. So number one, what I would say is that when you're dealing in the body, don't wait. And what I mean by that is that what we see is that for us, it's human nature for us to have an issue. Let's say that issue is neck pain. And it's human nature for us to push through that neck pain. What I'm going to caution you to understand is that in the way that the body works, once a process starts in the body, it just continues on that cascade until you stop it. I'll give you an example. Think of like a cavity in a tooth. You had a cavity in a tooth and you don't do anything for it. Whether or not you believe it's going to get worse, it's going to get worse. It's just the way that the body works. Well, same thing when you have neck pain as well, right? You can have neck pain, and the longer that you leave it untreated, the harder it is to treat it. So what I always tell people is I say the sooner that you can actually get in to get it assessed, to get it treated, to get it better, it will get better. But the longer that you wait, the harder that it is, right? So that's one thing that I would say. And then as far as like anybody who is like, number one, either looking to do something like what I'm doing, or even if it's not, if you're just aspiring to do something else, right? Probably the biggest thing that I've learned is that when you have somebody or when you have something that you want to do, find somebody that's doing it, right? Contact them, be in contact with them, and do what they ask you to do, right? I mean, most people today, it's nice that we're living in this time where we have things like social media, because you can truly reach out to most anybody. But what I would say is if you have something that you want to do, find somebody that's doing it, find somebody that's doing it the way that you want to do it, and then figure out how do you get closer to that person, right? How do you make a relationship with that person so that you're closer, so they can teach you exactly what they're doing? And what that'll do is that'll actually shave time, right? I think a lot of times people get into this mindset that like, you've ever heard people say time is money, time is money. Is it though? I don't really know that that's true, right? And the reason I say that is because let's say that you run out of money. You can always go and make more money. Correct. But what happens when you run out of time? That's it. That's it. I've asked people this before in the past. I say, well, what if I said, hey, I write you a check for $1 million that's going to clear the bank. And I say, hey, you can have this $1 million. Do you want it? Right? Everybody says, yeah, absolutely, I want it. I say, well, okay, the only caveat with this is that you can't wake up tomorrow. You can't wake up tomorrow. You have to die. Do you still want? It doesn't have it. It doesn't have the same value, right? And that tells you inherently that time is more valuable than money. You see what I'm saying? So if you're able to shave time and grow, exponentially, whether that's money, whether that's vision, whatever it is, physically, if you can cut off the time, cut off the time.
I like that.
You know what I'm saying? So that would be the biggest thing.
Oh, and speaking of time, that's a perfect segue for me to wrap it up. Once again, my name is Melvin Jackson. You can find me on 50 Shades at Instagram, Facebook, and on YouTube. Make sure you like, share, and subscribe, and stand by for more content. Mr. Brown, it's been a pleasure. Absolutely, man. And thanks again, man.